every artist has the potential to increase their revenue every year, year after year, if you follow this advice.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
So yes, every artist has the opportunity to increase their revenue year after year if you do a certain number of things that can help you. So I'm going to share that with you today, how I'm doing it too as an artist myself, how I'm also helping and coaching other artists to increase their revenue year after year. And there are things that require more work, and there are things that are easier. And there's actually one that everybody can do like today. So I'm going to share those things with you. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit because we are getting towards the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. But it doesn't matter when you're watching this video, even if you're watching it in 2026, 2027, 2028, it doesn't really matter, because all this information can help you no matter what year it is. I'm just telling you kind of where I am when I'm recording this video and why I'm thinking about it, because every time that a new year comes in, I look at my goals, aspirations, revenue, and think about, okay, what numbers do I want to hit in the new year? So let's start there. First, it's a mindset. First, you gotta have that mindset, that mentality to say, you know what, I have to increase my revenue. I want to increase my revenue. Why? Not just for the sake of increasing revenue, but what is the reason? What is the why? What is the impulse that's going to help you make decisions to say, this is why I want to do it. In my case, I want to do it because I know if I increase my revenue, I can make more art. I can, buy better supplies. I can spend more time, making the art, less time doing other things. The revenue increase helps me, to increase also in other areas. I can hire more help. I can do a bigger space, or get newer tools, or get a better camera, etc. I have a whole list of things I can do as I'm increasing my revenue. Or I can travel, to another location, rent a space, while I'm traveling to make art, etc. There are 1,000 ways. I'm sure, there's no limit to how we can spend the money once we have it. The problem is that we don't have it, and we don't make plans on how we can increase our revenue. So that's exactly what we're going to specifically talk about here. And I'm going to talk about something that is important that I teach inside our Next Level program. As you build your art career, doesn't matter if you have been making art for 50 years or you're just starting out, you're watching this video because you're starting out, you want to know how to position and how to build your art business, is the idea of income streams. It took me a long time to figure out what income streams were. When I finished my education and I went out in the world and began to make art, and also I had a day job before I could actually sustain my career. I had to work and do other things. I had a full-time job before. You guys, most of you may know my story, but I went through many years in which I worked as a designer, and then as an educator, a professor, a web designer, etc., until I was able to say, no more, quit my job and dedicate all my time to my art, my studio, my gallery, the things that I do 100% art related. So, I had to understand, in order to transition to that, from that full-time into, an art career, I had to understand income streams. So income streams, as the word says, there's income and stream. And stream, that means that there's a continuity to it, okay? Sometimes artists confuse income streams from, oh, I'm gonna do a pop-up event. That's not an income stream. That's an event that you do. That's a one-time thing. Money comes in for that one-time thing, and then it's over. A stream is like you open the faucet and water keeps coming, right? Although there are times in which our income streams dry out, which I'll talk about in a second, but the idea of the income stream is that you have something that continues to give you revenue. As long as the faucet is open, the revenue comes in. One of those things that I started doing first for me was, for example, art licensing. I began to license some of my paintings, the images, for a company that was selling art reproductions at high quality and high quantity. So that for me, when I looked at that option, it made sense for me. And I did work for a company leasing my art, not all the pieces, but a certain selection of them, which I was comfortable with, which were images that also people really liked at that particular time, and I started licensing my work. So as sales happened, I would get a check, every time that those prints were sold, every quarter I would get a check or a deposit, to my account. It was never a check, it was actually a direct deposit to my account, for that. So that's when I began to understand, so this is what our income revenue stream means. The money just keeps coming and I don't have to do much of it, right? Just provide the art and then they'll do the rest. And that was an income stream. So an income stream is exactly that. Something that as long as the faucet's open, stream continues to come. And I have done that for many years. Now, more recently, I started working with this company because I took full control of my reproductions and what I do. And I didn't want to have other companies competing with me. So now I have full control of all of that revenue, and which works great. Now I can just sell it directly myself, and that's it. But at that time, it makes sense for me because I didn't have time. I was running a full-time job, and I had a million of other things I was trying to do, so it was easy. So once you start deciding and you start looking at different income streams that you can do as an artist, then your revenue begins to grow and the potential begins to grow as well. After that, after I started doing licensing, another thing that I started doing is also online courses. So I realized, I love education, I love teaching, I love sharing information, and I had done many courses which were like in person, people would come, or like online seminars and things like that. I would charge for them, but wait a minute, if I can record this session and I can have it online that people can just buy it and consume it, that's another income stream, right? I don't have to do anything other than record it that first time, put it out in the world so that people can just register and watch it whenever they want, however times they want, and at their own leisure. I don't have to be there. So that became another income stream for me, where I started to record these courses. So some of them were art, others were marketing. So I was really good at marketing my art. So I started doing marketing courses. And also because of my experience with galleries and curatorial projects, I began to teach artists how to get into shows, how to get into galleries, etc. And one of my first courses, which became a big hit, was the course 7 Steps to Creating a Killer Exhibition Proposal. And actually that course is still running, it still is an income stream. It's my best-selling course ever, and it still works. Even though I came up with that idea probably about 8 years ago, what I ended up doing after the pandemic, I re-record the entire course to refresh it, to make it new and more relevant to today's world. But that in itself became another income stream. So if you know something, if you know a particular technique, particular style of working, particular information that is good, that is good advice, that other people are asking you about it, that's how you know that you have a good income stream idea for a course, when people are seeking you for something that you know. So if they're seeking you for something that you know, that you got something there, some knowledge, some understanding, that you can probably package it in a way that you can sell it. And that's exactly what I did. I started selling the 7 Steps to Creating a Killer Exhibition Proposal, and it became an income stream. I just had to do it just once in a while, keep promoting it, keep talking about it, and people kept buying it because it was really good. And I started to get then feedback from artists like, hey, I got into a show, hey, I got into a museum exhibition, or thank you, I did, I achieved results. When people started to also experiencing success, and I began to see those successes and then creating those into testimonials, then a bigger faucet, was opening from that, right? So that was then another income stream, again, where revenue would just continue to flow as long as the faucet is open. And like I said, you can also close them if at some point like that course is no longer relevant or is outdated. Well, you can close that and start another one. I did that, for example, too. I had a course on Photoshop basics for artists. This is before AI and before some of the new apps that we have now. Every artist needed to know some basic information about Photoshop and how to color their images, how to change things, how to crop them. Back then, phones were not what they are now. I'm talking about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. So I had to teach artists how to do it because I was really good at it. And I packaged that, and that became a course. So at some point, other technologies came around that artists really did not need to have Photoshop anymore. And Photoshop became quite expensive for many artists. So, I had to close that faucet and say, you know what, it's not selling as it used to. I don't want to just have it there with all the information, so I decided to close that. But you can see the idea of how an income stream can be open or closed according to the needs you may have and according to the needs of other artists or the world of whoever you're selling it to. So, that is another income stream that helps. Another one then, as I began again in my career to continue to trying to find what would be other income streams, like, okay, how about prints and reproductions? That's another one that a lot of artists use. Probably you have tried it or maybe you haven't, but that is selling prints or reproductions of your own art. And there is an art to it as well, to do it successfully. So I had to, go through the process of learning how to do it, how to photograph my art really well so that it could be used for reproductions. Had to learn, also, how to find the best printers for the type of print and art that I wanted to sell, framing, shipping, all those, the differences between doing it yourself or finding a local printer or doing it on demand, like an online company that will do it all for you, because each of the options has pros and cons. So depends on your time, depends on your involvement, depends on how you want to handle it, how much you want to make per print, the decisions you're going to take or you're going to make, and that's entirely a whole new video. But I'm just talking about how that also became an income stream for me, where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I still do it today. So I do releases where I release 1 or 2 or 3 different prints. Typically I do it in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. And then I release them at a special price for the release time, for the launch, for the drop of that particular print. And sometimes I do open edition, sometimes I do limited edition. I tried it all, and I love it because every time I try it, I learn some new things, and I'm able to continue evolving my offers as I release them. And again, that's another faucet that's now open. I still have it open, meaning that anytime anyone can go to my website and buy prints of my art. So that is another income stream that has become a very important one for me in order to maintain and to keep elevating my income every year. So if I want to, as I look at each of these income streams, I have to look at also independently, not just overall how much money comes into my art career, but where it comes from and how can I increase each individual income stream or effort to make it better for the next year. So for example, I'm starting looking at 2026. How can I make my print drops or offers better? Perhaps creating some bundles, perhaps also creating some new collaborations, etc. Or new products. Maybe I should release a new product line that I don't have now, and that will create a new income stream because there's novelty, it's something new, etc. Another one, right, is merchandising. So, and I separate them, the fine art prints from merchandising. Merchandising meaning T-shirts, mugs, scarves, phone cases, you name it. There are today thousands of options that artists can do, stickers, all kinds of things. So merchandising is another way, is another option in which you can increase your revenue in the new year. If you have never done it before, well, maybe introducing that into your art career is a way in which you're going to bump your sales for the new year. Everything, doesn't matter what you do, it's going to have a learning curve, right? It's really hard to find an income stream that has no learning curve. Everything has a learning curve. So, if you don't want to learn anything, then you will not have increases in your income, okay? You probably have decreases because you don't want to do anything. All you want to do is just be in the studio making the art. So don't complain that you're not growing your art business. The truth is, anything that you want to do, it requires some learning, some skill. And here's the beautiful thing. As long as we're alive, we can always learn. There's no such thing like, oh, I'm too old to learn this or that. If you put it in your mind, maybe you believe that you're too old. Stop believing that. And stop believing like, you know what, as long as I can breathe, I can learn some new things, right? This dog can learn some new tricks. And no matter what they say. So start learning new tricks. And maybe, again, adding some of these new things to your art career will help you increase your income stream. So I was saying, like, merchandising. I separate merchandising from print. So prints, I put it on the category of art, and merchandising, I put it as merchandising. It's merchandise that we create around our art. And I've not been a big fan of doing coffee mugs or things like that for my work, and that's okay. Every artist has to make decisions. You decide what you may want to do, what you may not want to do. It's entirely up to you. That doesn't mean I may not do it ever. I have done actually coffee mugs of my Breakfast with Sergio show. Those did really well. But there are times in which maybe I might want to do that. But something that I'm actually adding for 2026 is my new apparel, right? My new wearable art. So this t-shirt, for example, is one of a kind. So I want to create not mass-produced t-shirts that print on demand, but rather one of a kind, where the design is the same, but each t-shirt is a little different because I will be making them differently, each one. And I will do them myself to start. If it goes well, then I might have to hire others to help out with that as well. But there will always be some controlling element that I will have in order to make sure that they are mine, right? That you're wearing art itself, handmade versus just done in a machine printing. There's nothing wrong with that, but this particular offer is something I want to do. I want to add another level that is more customized, that is more also has a higher value because it is not mass produced, right? So that's how I'm also thinking of increasing my revenue for my art to that. And what I love in a t-shirt or a wearable is that everybody who has one, they are almost like advertising walking billboards, right? Because it has my image, it has the figures that I'm known for in my paintings. I'm literally taking the figures from my paintings and translate them into a graphic that I could use. So that is another income stream that you can explore, you can do. Now there's one, and there are again, these are just ideas that you can do. Another one could be offering classes in your studio or coaching others. Now this is the coaching industry where everybody is some sort of coach. Everybody can help another person. I think of it as mentoring. You can, mentor somebody else with something that who needs your help. And here's the thing, a lot of times we think like, well, I want to do a class on painting, but there are already many people doing that, so therefore I'm not going to do it because nobody's going to buy mine. Or there's already a lot of people coaching. I'm not going to coach or mentor anybody because there's already too many people. Here's the thing, everybody does it differently, and everybody has their own spin, their own way, their own ideas. So just because somebody else has your idea, somebody else is already doing what you want to do, doesn't mean that there's no audience for you, right? There may be actually a good market for you because the way you are. Maybe you are funny. Maybe you are very charismatic. Maybe you, I don't know, whatever. Maybe your experience or whatnot. There are certain attributes that are unique to you that will make your class unique. And even though 10,000 other people may be teaching it, but the way you teach it, because it's you, it will be totally different. And that's worth exploring, and that's worth knowing. And that is very good, because when I understood that, that liberated me and, from mindset blocks that I had, like, oh, the people are doing this idea that I want to do. It's okay. The market is big. There are many people in the world. So think about that, right? It's another way to increase revenue of your art. Now, here's another one. This one is super, super easy. And this one, most artists are afraid of. And I think it's the easiest one that you can do right now if you want to increase your revenue for the new year, is increase your prices. Just increase your prices a little bit. Like, I know that a lot of people will be like, oh, so I don't want to do that if I see people are not buying or they think it's expensive. Imagine if I raise my price. I'm not talking about double your prices. I'm talking about give it every year a little percentage. And every year, then, you'll make more money if you continue selling your art. The difference, in price when you increase 10 to 15% is not highly noticeable. In other words, even your own collectors, if they're not paying a lot of attention, may not even notice the difference. They might see a slight increase, but at the same time, everything for them is increasing too. When they buy milk, when they buy gas, when they, anything, life, the cost of living is always going up. So it only makes sense, right, that your art also needs to go up. I recommend every year to bump your prices 10 to 15% up, just to keep up with the inflation, just to keep up with the times, right? If you're still pricing your art the way you priced it 10 years ago, then you are not helping yourself. You're not helping your brand. You're not helping, your work be at the level that it needs to be. And it may be perceived like, well, these artist prices have never changed, therefore probably it's not worth it, right? It's not so valuable. So again, do a little increase, and that will also, as you continue to sell, that will increase your revenue. And this is, just a sample of how you got to start thinking about it. You got to start writing things down. You got to start writing ideas down. If something comes to mind, like, hey, this is an idea, I'm going to explore it. Don't just discard it. Don't just push it away, but explore it. Think about it, because it could be the one thing that all of a sudden is going to push your art career to new levels, to new heights. Again, because more income for your art, for your career, will help you, to make more art, to market it better, to hire help, to get more equipment, whatever it is that you need that can help your art career. And that's very important. And the last piece of advice is, as you increase your revenue, think about how you can invest back into your business. Not just how am I going to spend it, but how am I going to invest back into my business so that my business continues to grow, which is very important. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments, how are you planning to increase your revenue in the new year? What are the thoughts, ideas that you have? Would love to read that. Would love to comment on that as well. Let me know. And if you want to continue working with me inside the Art Next Level program, there's a link in the description that will take you to the Art Next Level so we can work together. I can help you transition from your day job into a full purpose-driven art career and help you stay that way, so you don't have to go back to that.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.